All right, so hi everybody. I am Max Cohen, the newly appointed chair of the Economic Development Committee. I see that we have Regina, and Regina is one of the resident members of the board, if that's correct, of the committee, and we have Vanessa, who is a board member of the community board. Now, and welcome to all additional guests who are viewing. I would just like to briefly introduce myself, and then I would appreciate it if Vanessa and Regina can introduce themselves briefly as well, and briefly explain why you chose to join, why you selected the Economic Development Committee, and then following that, we will get into more of a general introduction to the committee and what some potential goals for the year may be. We'll take a look at the Bridge Street study that was done, and that will also be distributed so that we can take a little bit more of a look at it before next meeting, and maybe we can come up with some ideas based on that. So to begin, I am, as mentioned, Max Cohen. I currently am on the community board for the first year. However, I work in economic development for foreign governments in New York City, and to me, economic development is hand in hand the most important thing that drives a community, that drives a state, and that eventually drives a country. And being able to enact even a little bit change in our community is what drives me. And I hope that throughout the next year, we will be able to create some positive change in our neighborhood, which has so much potential and so much opportunity. Um, so that is why I chose to join the Economic Development Committee. Um, Regina, would you like to go first? I believe you're still muted.
Yeah. So I'm Regina Clark, resident. Been a resident, 9 years, approaching 10. So my purpose for joining this particular committee is the zip code usually determines your outcomes, right? So that's one of the things that I'd like to impact. Overall, experience-wise, I've done work in the corporate side of the fashion industry for 16 years, managing huge budgets, millions of dollars. And I'm also a founder of a mentorship app. I've been mentoring for 20 years. So, that's my whole thing is about impact. And, the economic way makes a huge impact. So, got to pass it off.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Vanessa, would you like to go ahead?
Yes. Hi, you guys. I am Vanessa Raptopoulos. I own a shop on Flatbush called Awesome. And so I'm a business owner, and I'm in this corridor on Flatbush between Parkside and Empire. And we haven't gotten much attention. And there's a lot of opportunity. And I just have been watching nothing happen. And so I want to help make something happen and like help people however I can. I have 2 stores, so I'm like extra invested in this corridor, but everywhere in Brooklyn. So that's me.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much, and it's a pleasure to get to know both of you. Because we don't have a quorum to appoint a vice chair or a secretary, Khaled, if I can ask you to take some notes just of the meeting, if that's all right. Take the minutes, excuse me. And so some of my goals, at least for today, is first of all, not to waste anybody's time. The things that we are going to do together over the next year, I would like them to be things that matter and that will not look back after a year of work and say, what did we really accomplish? That also goes into not actually wasting times during meetings. Um, So to get to the point, the purpose of the Economic Development Committee, which I'm sure some of you may know already, is to enhance the local economy, whether that's through supporting small businesses and allowing them to grow and assisting them in any way possible, and our duty as a conduit between the residents of our community and the city, or whether that's through initiatives that we plan that provides aid and support to the individuals in our community to start businesses and to create new jobs and to enhance the beauty of our neighborhood stores and shops through different initiatives, whatever that may be. In the past, we've had COVID, and that has caused a huge strain on businesses in our neighborhood, financial strain, a mental strain, and we're really situated at a crossroads right here, right now, where we can enact change that may be able to help them going forward. And I think, therefore, right now is an extremely important time in our community, in our city, in our state, and of course in the world, to collaborate and to come up with ideas and initiatives that may be able to assist businesses, job creation, and the local economy. So just to move forward,
Max, you are muted.
oh, I'm sorry. So I'm just going to share my screen. I'm going to share the study done by the Bridge Street Development Corporation on the Crown Heights district needs and kind of the outlook of our businesses and our neighborhood. Now, we are kind of standing on a clean slate where, there is not much old business to go over right now, which means that there's only new business, which means that we'll be able to think creatively and think widely into the different things we would like to do. So can everyone see the presentation I'm sharing?
Yes.
All right, excellent. So this project that was done by Bridge Street in partnership with the Small Business Services of the city was part of a grant that was awarded to get a large, broad picture of the businesses in our area and see what the challenges are, what the needs are, and how we may be able to address them. For the context, our district and our neighborhood has two major communities, which both contain a lot of immigrants and are both culturally vibrant. And therefore, the businesses therein are culturally vibrant. So many of the businesses in the area suffer from, nowadays at least, the most pressing issue is with the sanitation, the new sanitation rules that are in effect that are leaving store owners struggling to be able to keep the fronts of their stores clean with garbage bins, etc. And in general, the beautification of the storefronts and of the properties are something that is an issue that has been found as well. Coming out of COVID, due to the closeness of our neighborhoods, I would propose to give as a reason our vacancy rate is 14% in storefronts, with the largest avenue containing stores is Nostrand, followed by Utica, and then Kingston Avenue, Franklin, and Atlantic. Within these avenues, as those who live in the neighborhood know, there's a large variation of the types of stores, of the types of storefronts, and there's really opportunity within all of them to further enhance and to help them provide further value to the residents of our community. So if we'll just skip to where the challenges are, and this presentation will be shared afterwards, so we can all take a look at it and see, and try to analyze it briefly to see if there's any opportunity that arises from the issues. So as I mentioned, the illegal dumping and garbage pickup is something that has been a big issue, and the overall beautification of stores. It mentions here one example of graffiti. Then a lot of stores face high rates of theft, and that is a security and safety issue. But in the end of the day, that does affect the economic outlook of the area when stores are suffering losses. Heavy vehicle traffic, for those of us who live in the 9th Community District, we know that that can be an issue many of the times. It makes it difficult to whether drive or walk to stores to purchase things. And of course, and I would say extremely important, and this is an initiative that I personally care about as well, as does the city overall, is the need for healthier food options and alternatives for the people in our community, and to promote that healthier food choice lifestyle. So some of these opportunities are not necessarily as a general thing, they don't necessarily fall within the purview of the committee, but in its relationship to stores and to businesses, it absolutely does. So cleaning and beautifying the area and activating open spaces, the multiple parks we have in the district, allowing them to be presentable and clean spaces for potential fairs or potential vendors on the streets, and to help the businesses be able to present themselves to our community and to be able to market themselves better through beautification and cleanliness and overall benefit. The last point that they mentioned here is something that I think we didn't mention yet, and I think it's just as important, and that is a little bit similar. I'm not sure the details of what, Regina, what you have done in the areas of mentorship and advisory and guidance with businesses, but different initiatives to support businesses educationally, learning different technical skills, whether that is between e-commerce or keeping the books, or different skills that don't necessarily take that long to learn, but can enhance a business's profits and profitability to an extremely high extent. So once again, I will share this with everyone after this meeting with all the board members. I would first like to know if there are any comments on anything I said, and this is also the time to open the discussion to different ideas of what we would like to accomplish in the coming year, different areas of concern, different areas of opportunity that some of you have identified, whether in your personal life, whether as store owners. I would love to hear from anyone who has applicable knowledge, information, or opinions. So I'll just open up the floor.
I'll go. I had my little hand up. I don't know.
Sure.
Are you calling on people, or just sort of set the tone for how you want to?
So I think with the size of the of this meeting right here, I see, first of all, I would like to acknowledge Jean has joined. Jean is another community board member. Before we ask questions, Jean, if you would like to briefly introduce yourself and a minute or so explain what it is about the Economic Development Committee that either made you join, or maybe perhaps you've been a member for a while. So, John, if you don't mind going ahead. I believe you're muted.
So I don't know if you can, let me see if it'll work now. Let's see. Let's see. Okay.
You're not muted now.
Okay. Okay. You unmute me?
We hear you.
Okay. Okay. So this, I mean, I'm just, I mean, I just start. I mean, I can't really. I'm not trying to talk. I guess, but I don't see nobody now, so it's weird. Uh, okay. So, okay.
We could see and hear you though.
Oh yeah. Now I see this. I guess. See. Yes. I guess I'm gonna do that. The other thing. Yeah. So I was just. I mean, I've been in a neighborhood for like 20 years. So, and I'm very, I mean, I see all over places. I've been traveling a lot lately. You know, so and then I saw some neighborhood moving differently. So I would like to have my vision here for Community Board 9. So I'm from Africa, but I grew up in France, in Lille. So that's north of France. It's this, and I mean, industrial town. And then and then I went to college in Paris, in France. So well, things a little bit different, more. It's a little bit more progressive view of a use of land and I mean, economic wise, how to improve the neighborhood also. So I want to do more approach that can benefit the community, like something more. I mean, integrative, like people can be part of a neighborhood. Like, you know, have some parties on the street sometime. Hello, hello.
Sorry. Yes, we hear you.
Okay, that's it. And then also, I mean, I managed a restaurant, I mean, in the West Village for 20 years also, very successful restaurant. So I see the neighborhood is different than here. So I'm trying to see how all the community board works, and then that you can integrate for us also. So looking forward. So
All
that's
right.
it.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Jean. Really appreciate that.
Welcome.
And just to go over that in the area of restaurants and in the area of Vanessa's stores and Regina's activities with the community, really getting people to shop local is really
Yeah.
a huge goal, and enhancing and supporting our businesses to be able to reach the people that are maybe ordering things on Amazon, or maybe
Yeah.
shopping in other ways. Really shopping local, shopping, especially in the food industry, shopping fresh. That is a huge area that can perhaps be a benefit to the community. Regina, would you like to say something?
Yes. So to answer your question on like supporting businesses and mentoring, yes, I have done that. Both in just fiscal, financial stuff, visual stuff, strategizing, even helping a startup company get to a certain point. I will say, one of the points in the Bridge Street analysis did mention the part about theft. So as a resident, we've seen some dynamics kind of change recently. So one of the things, and also just the economy, right? So that has risen. So that really comes to mind for me, jobs. So now I'm leading into lots of development is coming, which residential development that is going to drive a certain demographic. Everybody needs housing. That's my thing. But what it doesn't come with is a strategy to support those people who are going to be living in there. So my concern is if we don't find some avenues on how to bridge that gap with those, 11 developments, I don't know if there's more, then what is that going to lead to? So, it's nice that there is a business owner on the call as well, obviously community as well. But yeah, there has to be a pipeline with jobs. Obviously, some of the things you pointed out with beautification, that helps drive traffic into stores. I worked in restaurants as the start of my career, 4 years of my life, customer service. So, you want to invite people in, both in restaurants, both in selling other products. I do have experience in that, but I definitely think there's opportunity to find collaborative ways to help support whether the businesses, but then even, is there a pipeline to help rising talent to get experience? With experience, you can actually do more. So definitely lots of opportunities, but I do think like the theft, the garbage dumping, the beautification, there's other things that are coming down the pipeline that we should probably have on the agenda for future to make sure what does that look like. But
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Job creation and development is, I would say, the number one aim of the game for anyone in economic development. That's the end goal. All roads lead to there. So I definitely think that should be a focus of the committee, whether that involves job fairs, new businesses opening with job opportunities for our area, educational awareness and educational projects to give more skills to the people in our area to work and to do and to get jobs in our area. In my professional life, I've come across many institutions in Brooklyn, not in our community district, but in other community districts that do exactly such a thing, and they're pretty successful at it, especially in the technological age that we're in right now, promoting soft technological skills that can enhance employment and lead to employment is something that is definitely very important. There's also, and it's not necessarily spoken about very much, but in my opinion, in our community district, there is an untapped reservoir of innovation and potential businesses that these people may not necessarily have the support to begin. Just as an example, I was at Brooklyn Navy Yard the other day, and I met their two businesses that the founders were from Crown Heights or Prospect Lefferts Garden. Because of the lack of an infrastructure here, though, they have to commute to run their business in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. And having incentives and having a good environment for these startups and these businesses to stay in our neighborhood and to stay in our community district, I think that can do wonders for the overall economic outlook of our community. Just as close as right past Grand Army Plaza, there are technology and innovation hubs where people are incubating and accelerating small businesses, teams of 1 or 2 people. But those small businesses can turn into large teams with a dozen people, maybe one day 50 people, 100 people. Maybe one day it can become a multinational corporation. Who knows? But we just have to start getting there in order to find out down the line. And I think that's something that can also be a potential for our community to enhance it into a place that can be a hub of small businesses, a hub of opportunity, and a hub of creative thinking and economic advancement. So that's my thoughts. Would anyone else like to share something?
Max, hi. Just to follow up on what you're just saying, is there anything currently in the works or like any potential space that is being thought about as like this hub or incubator? Or like any plans, or are we hearing about this as a whole idea for the very first time? Because it sounds awesome. I'm just like, would love to learn more.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So there is not yet any formal association or organization that encompasses the wider community district. There are smaller ones I know of that have assisted a few small companies that have in fact created many jobs in our in our community district. For such a project, it would obviously, first of all, it's a long project that takes a couple years at least. It also requires a lot of money to do something like that. But I think if we can, just start the conversation, we can do the things that we mentioned before. We can work on beautifying the neighborhood. We can work on job opportunities that can turn our community district into a attractive location for the people who finance such projects and for the people who are involved in such things, such as NYU, who has their Urban Future Lab in right next to Brooklyn Point in downtown Brooklyn, next to Fulton Street. And we're not that far away from them, geographically, I'm saying. So if we can help extend that a little further into our community district, obviously we're much more of a residential district than it is in downtown Brooklyn. But even just a little bit of that, bringing that here, and that opportunity for starting your own business and creating a product or selling the product, I think would be a great way to start. Okay. Does anybody else have?
I have a couple things to say.
Sure.
All of that. Also, the rent is very, very high right now, like extraordinary. They want $10,000 for the Greenlight Books old space on Flatbush.
Mm-hmm.
And there is like hardly any way for a new business to get any lending without horrible rates.
Yeah.
So like those two blockages are continuing the empty storefront situation, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it would be nice to do some sort of mural project with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's like a lot of artists around here who are up and coming and would love to have their art like on a big roll down gate on Nostrand Avenue or something, you know what I mean? They just don't have the opportunity and there's no one really organizing that. There have been like little things happening here and there, but not like a big, like citywide or neighborhood wide thing. Like we want to make this more beautiful around here, because if we make it more beautiful, more people will want to open stores and, all the things that come with that. So some things to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the issues you mentioned are more macroeconomic, like it's hard for businesses to get cheap money. Money's expensive now. So we can obviously try to do something towards that. But
even Canva, which is supposed to be a more micro, I thought, situation, for lending is, I think 9-10%, something like that.
Yeah.
So
I think definitely, and after this meeting, I'm gonna try to organize all the different things we're talking about and create a tentative list of things that we should focus on for the coming year. But I think that focusing on access for financing for businesses is something that's extremely important and should definitely be high up on that list.
There's one other question I just have. There was something I heard about the City of Yes economic plan where they're talking about putting in new zoning so nightclubs can exist in other areas that they maybe didn't exist in, which I understand would bring business to our neighborhood, but may not be the kind of business we want. I don't know.
Right. So to find out more details, I first of all highly suggest everyone to join the meeting that will be held, I believe, tomorrow night. I can make sure that I believe it has been sent to all the community board members. But specifically, the people on our committee should definitely attend that and to hear more information. If there are stuff there that we feel may not necessarily be in the spirit of what the committee is trying to accomplish, I suggest that we discuss that during our next meeting, and hopefully at that point have the people here, and we'll be able to discuss and recommend policy to the city in that regard and make a recommendation for our community district. And yeah, and the rent being very high, I mean, I don't know anyone who's not suffering from that. Both businesses, of course, that's in the context of our meeting, residential also. And, I think we have to, first of all, discuss, of course, this is a problem with New York City as a whole and other areas of the world. With beautifying a neighborhood, other outcomes may happen that may affect that in a negative way. So I think that's also something that we will need to discuss, and kind of, there has to be a balance. There is some way to kind of be on both sides of that, and to figure out something that can help businesses, help keep the community district a place that is reasonable for a business to open, as well as a beautiful and physically attractive place for a business to open. So that's my thoughts. Rod, would you like to say something?
Yes. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, Rod.
Just a thought. Many people, they shy away from starting their own business 9 times out of 10 because they do not understand the financing that goes behind running a business, right? So if you don't have financial literacy, that means your business really will struggle to be sustainable. So in the past, there used to be financial literacy programs for both personal and commercial, right? Carver Bank used to have that. Chase Bank used to give them quite often. I'm trying to think, just going through my head. There were a couple of banks that used to do it. I'm talking years ago, and they did host these programs. And there was even one that was hosted a while ago at Kingsborough Community College. So if there's any way to, reach out to those financial institutions, have them hold workshops so that people will have the basic understanding, right, of the financial equipment, financial commitment, and how to navigate those waters, because some people may become very discouraged if they do start a business and then they do find out that, hey, I'm way in over my head. And there's certain signals and warning signs that can help if you understand financial literacy.
Yeah, that's excellent, Rod. That's extremely important. Going back to the idea of having mentors and advisors, I think it's important to have educational mentors and advisors as well, who, in this case, you mentioned financial institutions. That would be absolutely incredible. So let me just ask on that. Were these examples you brought up, was that on a local level, or are you saying that happened citywide within those financial institutions?
They were a combination of both, right? Like Carver Bank, they did it locally. Right? And but Chase, they do have these programs, and I remember they used to do a road show. It was a team that they had, and they went all over Manhattan and Queens, and even up in Westchester. They did a road show. So I'm not sure if that still is in existence today, but banks are, they want the business, even if it's a potential. And I can't see them saying that they're not involved. They wouldn't be interested in hosting one or two.
Okay, that's an excellent idea. I appreciate that. Let me just take something. All right, Ethan, would you like to say something? I believe you're muted, Ethan.
Happens to all of us. On the City of Yes initiative, I wanted to just add a couple of notes. The way I understand it is that their goal really is to have like a bit of a healthy mixture of businesses in as many parts of the city as possible. Um, and in some ways that can help when it comes to rent control because there would be different levels of venues getting different levels of revenue from different types of businesses at the same time. So like you wouldn't have all of the nightclubs in Bushwick or Williamsburg. There would be, maybe not the same number in every area, but there would be some kind of availability across, different types of neighborhoods. Of course, not one on every block, but there would be at least a place to go, regardless where you are in the city, which might, help people, see some alleviation in costs because many times landlords, when they feel a restriction in what they can get revenue from, they will default to their highest reasonable price they could ask for, which ends up hurting people all around. So I just wanted to add that in there as, maybe a valuable note.
Yeah, thank you. That's definitely something that we should consider when we joined the City of Yes meeting. It's something we should keep in mind. I think like many issues, there's definitely multiple facets to look at it from and multiple lenses to view a situation. So I thank you for that. And yes, that is important to know. Thank you. Giovanni, would you like to say something?
Oh, yes. I appreciate the beautification of the neighborhood. I think that's great for business. And I also feel like the rent is an important issue right now, business and residential. But I also was curious, do you have any programs, like more like philanthropic programs for our community? Like I know when I was in school, I appreciated, when teachers would invite me to like the financial literacy classes or like the different clubs that they had on campuses. Like learning how to exchange stocks, they give us like little worksheets, just so we can become familiar with, the highs and the lows, year to date, yada, yada, yada. Do you have like any philanthropic, initiatives?
So that is definitely something that, going back to before, when we were discussing.
Like food banks.
Sorry?
Or the food banks.
Sorry, food banks?
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that the committee should consider in regard to our goals for the next year. That also goes back to what we were talking about before with Kingsborough Community College and their financial literacy courses that they did. And I think just to kind of cap that off, it would be good if we could kind of have a more, if we can get a better picture of the offerings or lack of offerings available to business owners and to individuals in our community, and to kind of organize it and categorize it on what's available and what should be available, and then kind of see what we can do about that and how we can liaise with financial institutions, with schools, with organizations in the area. We do have multiple chain stores in the area that are not necessarily small businesses. I'm not talking about franchises, of course, talking about owned by the business. So I think that's something that we should definitely keep on the committee's eyesight for this year. Let's go. Regina, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, just going back to the innovation space point. I wonder if there's a way to really take it back a step. So not really trying to get to that point in a year, right? But are there ways to leverage partnerships to get spaces? There's also New York NYC Small Business Services. I went hard with that in 2020, in 2018, and in several other instances, but I could say there hasn't been much, if any, if I recall, in this particular area. which I think with all of this being said, going back to what Rod was speaking about earlier around the different banks and leveraging partnerships like that, New York Small Business Services, they leverage, people who own businesses that are talking about these topics. I even went through whatever training they had for 13 weeks. I forgot what it's called at the top of my head right now. But I mean, there are some opportunities that I think that won't, if there's partnerships with spaces, and then finding the talents in our community. There's talented individuals, and I'm sure they would train, because even that leads to business. So I think if we could leverage things and not kick the can down the line for trying to get to that innovation lab. Obviously, Sunset Park has certain things. Maybe we're not there yet in a year, but if we can leverage a space and partnership and drive people to certain areas where they can learn and develop, and obviously partnership with people like Chase and whoever else for that financial fiscal responsibility. I think even in retail, visual merchandising, I've seen so many shops that need some love. And that in turn, I could say from my experience, truly does add to your business. I used to do it for several chains. So, there's definitely opportunities, low-hanging fruit, that I think it won't be something that has to take as much time or money if we're leveraging and we're partnering with existing people who are already around here. And even using the framework of some of the existing programs that exist elsewhere. So Queens Economic Development Corporation and NYC Small Business Services, and all the plethora of information that they have, but the framework, but in our area.
Yeah, absolutely. Leveraging private sector partners, public sector partners, associations, organizations, chambers of commerce. I think that is all vital to being able to do some of this. And, that is a great way to do, as I mentioned earlier, to just get the conversation, to start getting the ball rolling. Of course, a project like that takes years to get something done, but thank you for the practical suggestions of how to begin that process that may provide benefit sooner rather than later. So thank you, Regina. Vanessa, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, real quick, in continuing on with who used to do like those classes, the banks and stuff. Impact Brooklyn used to do a bunch of classes, and I took like, I don't even know, 5 classes from them when I was starting my business. It was like how to write a business plan, how to get a loan, how to negotiate a lease. And then the people who ran these programs had like pro bono lawyers. And I mean, those kind of I don't even know what happened. Dale Charles used to work at she was like the person who knew everything. And then she went to another job, and I haven't seen Impact Brooklyn do anything in a while. So that's a big loss, I feel like, for people around here, because those were all free, and they would bring in people who were experts, and it was very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would, when we get to to the section of this meeting of new business, I would just like to kind of itemize these things that we've been talking about very briefly, so we have food for thought before adjournment. So thank you for that, Vanessa. Jay, would you like to go ahead? Welcome.
Hello, Max, if I can call you Max. First question I have, I enjoyed the conversation and everything like that. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, how do we do it? I know there's like governmental things where people have an email address that could be like at NYC. Is there something maybe in the future you could give us like an email address, even for like the New York City email? I don't want to get your personal, but in the future, just the contact of you in the future.
Absolutely. And just one thing is, in general, I invite anyone in this meeting, and of course the fellow committee members and board members, to contact me at any time to discuss ideas or to discuss new potential things that can happen or happened in the past. or just chat. So I'll provide, let me look for the chat. Where is that? Oh, there's no chat on this because it is thing. So my email address you can reach me at is CONEANDGEVE@gmail.com.
Great.
And yeah, so that is the email address I can be reached at. You know, I'm looking forward. So
Okay.
let's just get quickly into the next part, old business, which we don't really have any old business as of now. As I mentioned, we're on sorry, let's go back for a second. I don't know if we're officially able to, but Tara, would you like to go ahead?
Can I ask my question, Max?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It was more than that.
Go ahead, Jay.
Thanks. So what I wanted to just to point out is in terms of things to do in the future. Number one, it seems like that, you know, a lot of people may have different information that they want to share with different people. The web chat, like where we just had that situation, could we put something in the chat? We don't have web chat. And I think functionally it would be helpful if we had that, because somebody could say, okay, here's a website, here's my Dropbox, here's information. Now 20 people have a different information from Dropbox, something else, and we all have it, we could share it. So just one idea is that we should be able to have the same tools that other community boards have, you know, to share the information and compete on that level. The specific things to the committee are, I wanted to say that my concern is that I don't want certain neighborhoods to be left behind in the whole community district. Like my interest is East Flatbush, okay? So East Flatbush is a neighborhood, one of the various neighborhoods that make up Community District 9, Community Board 9. And my concern is that I don't want, you know, East Flatbush to be left behind. And my concern is that how the zoning issues can affect the economics of it also. So specifically, there's a big thing going on called Vital Brooklyn, okay? And I'm reading an article here in the Post where it said half of the retailers are fleeing downtown San Francisco, where 22 big name businesses left San Francisco because of the drug use, because of the homeless, because of the quality of life. So you see an entire neighborhood in San Francisco that's closing up, jobs are losing and everything like that. So I think if we look at that and we say, okay, what's happening over here? And my concern is that what they're doing with the Vital Brooklyn is that what they're bringing in terms of the economics of it is they're bringing in a disproportionate amount of social services. And it almost goes into the situation is how will this affect, you know, the neighborhood? If you bring in half homeless or half supportive housing, you know, what is the effect going to be on the economics of the neighborhood and everything like that if a neighborhood becomes oversaturated? And, you know, I think that's relevant. And part of Vital Brooklyn is there were two findings that were economic findings. And this is something that's going on. And I know this is something that's new and that a lot of people haven't heard about. But the Vital Brooklyn was supposed to be an economic boost to the neighborhood. It was supposed to make Brooklyn, like Clarkson Avenue, much more economically, where you could have it like, I don't know if you've ever been to like where Columbia Presbyterian is, there's like tremendous business, thriving neighborhood. I look at like Clarkson Avenue and I look at the, you know, the hospitals and everything like that. I'm like, how come in Brooklyn, in central Brooklyn, you know, you can't compete like they have in Manhattan with that? You know, what was done wrong here? And the answer is that when it came time to it for economic improvement, they gave a disproportionate amount of homeless shelters, supportive housing, very little economic activity. They took the New York downstate, where they had a parking lot that could have been developed. They gave it to the local homeless shelter provider, Canva, for $1, and half of that is social services. So just the point is that my concern is that one neighborhood should not become like a blighted neighborhood. And there was a finding. The finding was an economic finding. So this Vital Brooklyn thing, they said two things. They said it's a blighted neighborhood, and because it's a blighted neighborhood, we don't have to have the community board's approval on anything like that. So what I ask going forward, I know there's not a quorum now, is I'm very interested in the from New York State, the findings that said, how is Clarkson Avenue a blighted neighborhood? What metrics did they use, number one? Okay. And number two is there's also something else in it where it says it had to be offered to private enterprise. Okay. So like if you look at Clarkson, they're calling it a blighted neighborhood, but people who live there know that there aren't vacant homes and abandoned. It's the opposite. You have people who are knocking on homeowners' doors saying, can I buy your house? Can I buy your house? Okay. And the homeowners are sick of it. That's how much demand there is. So the whole argument is it's a blighted neighborhood, but what you have is you don't have that definition of it. So my concern is they took all the land by Kingsborough, which was enormous for it to be economically developed. They purposely didn't develop the land. Okay, New York State didn't develop it. And then they said, oh, it's a blighted neighborhood. So I wanted to make the comment that it's not a blighted neighborhood. It's a Black neighborhood, okay, predominantly. But that's not enough to call it a blighted neighborhood, and it's not enough to take away the rights of the community board, okay? And I know this is a little bit of a topic, so just the two things that I will ask in the future, Max, is just what's the metrics that said it's a blighted neighborhood? And number two, did they offer it to private enterprise? Okay, so that was my concern on that. The second, just to tell you and other people on the board what's going to be happening, parking is, I think, important, because if you don't have parking for like businesses, you may not be able to support those businesses. So Utica Avenue is going to be, they're looking to upzone it on the east side, and that will affect all of Utica Avenue. So Utica Avenue, the east side of Utica Avenue is CB 17, and this is a little bit off topic, but it relates to us here.
Jay, do you mind if I stop you for 1 second? Being that this is off topic a little bit, I know it's very important, but can I suggest to you to email me about this and to come to the next committee meeting to discuss this, because I would really like to finish this meeting by
right. No problem. But I think it's on topic, because it's the most important thing that people know, that the economics of East Flatbush have been ignored, and it's being destroyed, and it's going to happen, and we're going to turn into San Francisco. So I need those two things in the future. It's very important. I know I've been talking a lot. I'll cut it off now, Max. Thanks a lot. But just if they're looking to, just a final statement, they're looking to go 9 stories on Utica Avenue, from East New York Avenue down to Lenox. There's no parking. Okay, it's going to be a big problem for the businesses on both sides. Okay, all right. Thanks, Max.
Thank you, Jay. Definitely very important matters, and looking forward to further discussing this. Tara, would you like to go ahead? Okay, I don't believe Tara is there, so let's move on to old business. As I mentioned, there is not really any old business to discuss.
Hello?
Tara, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi.
How are you? Would you like to say something?
Yeah. Two things. I just wanted to know what happened with the I know the Economic Development Committee was working on the farmers market, and I'd heard that was they'd moved it. I don't know if you're familiar, but it was near very close to where I live, where Associated was tore down, and then they moved it up by the school, and it was very popular and doing very well when it was closer to us. And it also had a compost thing. It was really helpful for us. And we actually shop there regularly, because without Associated, it was every Friday. And then it moved up by the school, and I heard they were going to cut the funding because it wasn't well attended anymore. So I'd like to know what happened with that. And the other thing is just, I wanted to make a suggestion that I've been hoping economic development would do for some time, is maybe around the holidays, like Hanukkah, Christmas time, or even January, when businesses are, have a downturn. If there were some type of I've seen other districts do this, is they have like a pamphlet listing like all the businesses, and it's really helpful to see those on a list website. And like I like paper, honestly, but website okay too, but just like a list of the businesses, and have some kind of walk around or a weekend or a week where you visit the businesses just to drive some local businesses and become aware of them. I'd go to, as many as I could, but it's hard to know where things are when you don't know, if that makes sense. I just go to the little areas I go, but I'd go to another neighbor, even within your street, I'd go, further into Flatbush or, outside of my neighborhood. I live over by Ebbets Field, so I would like to go to other areas and support businesses instead of going to like Target, So if this group could do something like that, I would really love it.
All right.
That's all.
Very much. Thank you
So
very much.
thank you. Nice to meet everybody, and I'm glad to see all of you tonight.
Thank you very much, Tara. Thank you for these suggestions. Suki, would you like to go ahead?
Hi, yeah. First of all, I want to thank the chair, Max Cohen, for guiding this really interesting and productive discussion. And also thank you for mentioning the City of Yes zoning text amendments. I'm from the Land Use Committee. I'm the chair of the Land Use Committee this year. So our committee will be reviewing those text amendments, and we would absolutely love to have you guys at our next committee meeting, which is going to be September 18th at 7. We'll be discussing the specifics of how this will be implemented through zoning, but we would really like to hear from all of you what you think the challenges are in terms of new businesses opening up, as well as the opportunities, because this kind of background discussion should be guiding the discussion about the zoning regulation. The zoning is just there to implement what we as a community actually want. So we would love to see you and to hear from you at our committee meeting, and we look forward to working closely with you. Two other things I'd like to mention. Have you thought about workforce development? I think this has been a priority for the city in terms of economic development. And I think it's really important, especially for the larger scale economic development, like Jay was talking about, the area near East Flatbush, which is a 3-hospital complex. And that's something that should be an important engine for economic growth for our whole district. It is a manufacturing area currently, although there are areas that are being rezoned. There are lots that are being rezoned by the state for residential, but there is still manufacturing zone land there. So there's potential for economic development. And, similarly on Empire Boulevard, there are areas that are commercial zoned. And so maybe we need to be thinking about them a little bit differently than the mixed use retail corridors in the rest of our neighborhood. So, and the third thing is, I know the Brooklyn Chamber does things that are helpful provide services that are helpful for small businesses. I think they've done some reports on, economic development in Brooklyn. So I just wanted to recommend that you could look at that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll work from the back forward. I will bring this up. I'm actually speaking with the Brooklyn Chamber later this week. And I will definitely discuss with them the various opportunities and agendas that we would like to have for this coming year. I do also second the notion that members of our Economic Development Committee should join the Zoning Committee's meeting on September 18th. I think that will be very helpful for us to have a different frame or a similar or another frame that we can look at our potential activities for. So I definitely recommend those who are here to join that as well. Okay, Maxine, would you like to go ahead?
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see such a well-participated meeting. Two things. It would be great moving forward, or I thought I saw on your agenda that there would be an introduction of all the new people. So many new people, we could have spent the whole time with a meet and greet. But welcome everybody, and where in the neighborhood do you live, and CB9 do you live, and what is your vested interest in CB9? I think that is very fundamental Max, if moving forward, I believe you can identify yourself. You're a member, you're a resident member, or you're a community. So second thing, I am president emeritus of the 200 Sterling Street Block Association. I've owned my home for 40 years, and I've been an activist in this neighborhood, very vested for years and years and years. One thing that stands out, I think certainly as has been said, we should focus on the zoning and the oversaturation in our neighborhood and the displacement that is looming, the hanging fruit that is looming and to displace us. Second is very, very important to my neighbors, and it has been said to me, speaking for the community, the proliferation of these illegal smoke shops. On Nostrand Avenue, we have like 4 within feet of MS 61, of St. Francis of Assisi, and it's out of control. So if that is the kind of economic development that we're interested in the past, there was a liquor laundromat selling liquor, and I may be old school, but I don't think that's the message that we want to send to our children. And I was promised that the SLA, the State Liquor Authority, would have sent an opinion. I never received that. It would be great, Max. I would like to see that opinion as to how they open that in our neighborhood. So again, it'd be nice to have introductions of all of you and a focus on the oversaturation of people and the disproportionate use of our infrastructure that is falling apart. We are now in a crisis in global warming, and folks are trying to cut down trees and put up buildings that's going to stop the migration of birds and trees. So all of that is important as well. When you think of economic development, you should think of the health and the oversaturation. And yes, City of Yes is very important. Be great to see all of you tomorrow night. Thank you for listening, Max. I hope you follow up. Oh, and I didn't clearly hear your email. Could we have that again? Thank
Sure,
you, everyone.
Sure, absolutely. Just Maxine, I'm not sure if you were here at the beginning of the meeting. We did go through the introductions for the resident members and the board members who are here. For time's reasons, I will not say that we will go through it again, but I would suggest that you can view the recording of this once it is put on the CB9 website to kind of find out about all of our backgrounds. The email you can reach me at is CONEANDGEVE@gmail.com.
Okay, thank you. And you said that the video would be on the website of CB9. I could go to the website and click. Okay, I don't
That's
have
right.
to go.
All the recordings of all the meetings get uploaded to the website.
I've never
Don't mind
seen
me
them
chiming in,
uploaded.
Max. Yes, Ms. Barnes, the record is also being live streamed this meeting. So if you go to our YouTube page, if you have that information, you could see the recording.
Yes, I know that, but I said to the website. The community is not all that astute in searching for your Facebook or why can't it be on the actual website? The video recordings.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
no, it's also an option, but it gets recorded after. I'm just saying, if for time's sake, if you just want to see the recording right now, it's on YouTube.
Okay, thank you, but I would like to see it on the website. Thank you.
Yes, I do take that back. I'm not sure if it's on the website. I believe I misspoke in that regard. I apologize for that. Okay, so do we have anyone else who would like to comment on something before we move on to further business and adjourning this meeting? Looks like everyone had their chance so far. So in that case, we will now officially move on to old business, which, as I mentioned, there is none. And therefore, we will move on to new business. So what I would like to ask from the committee members and resident members, the committee board, CB9 members, and the resident members is I will send a communication to you guys with various topics that we discussed tonight. And I ask you guys that during our next committee meeting, between now and then, we kind of do some soft research. I'm not asking anyone to do anything too difficult, into different how we can take some of these ideas and begin turning them practical. Some of the ones that were good were, discussing potential partnerships. So let's try to maybe identify some partners. Let's try to identify different opportunities that we can work towards enabling in our community. We spoke about a lot. The meeting minutes will definitely be of assistance to kind of gather our thoughts after this. And I want to thank everybody for that. So before we adjourn the meeting, I would just like to do an official roll call so we can see which board members are here and which resident members are here. So let's just begin. Warren Burke. Jean.
Yes.
Jean is here. Vanessa. Vanessa is here, right?
Yep, here.
Yeah. Shmuel Zvatman. He's not here. Regina Clark.
Present.
All right. Resident member Allison Samuels.
Yeah, that's me. Hi.
Oh. Resident member Kristen Thomas. Okay, so we have a roll call now. And I do believe that that sums up the agenda for the meeting. So I would like to thank everyone for joining.
Wait, can I just, I never got an answer about the farmer's market. That was part of the Economic Development Committee. Can somebody get back to me on that? Or do you have an answer now? Like what happened with it?
I do not have an answer right now. I can discuss it with the previous committee chair to gain more light on that information.
Do you know, right. Khalid? Do you have any idea, Khalid?
I'll have to check back in with management tomorrow on that case.
Do you know if it's still happening or anybody know?
Are you referring to Grow NYC?
Yeah, the one that was in front on Nostrand Avenue. In front
yes.
Associated, and then it got moved further up. Yeah, is that still happening?
Yes, it's still active. It's been active.
Because I haven't seen anything on the Friday post or and I went up there one time and it wasn't there. So
yeah, it's still there.
Every Friday?
Yes.
And how long is that going to be for?
I don't know the time, how long it will be for, but I know it starts around 8 a.m. They start with the compost, and it ends around 2 p.m.
No, I meant the funding because I remember Warren.
I have no information on the funding.
Had said they were going to lose the funding. Like he said that in June, I think, at a meeting.
Mm-hmm. I can take your comments back to team tomorrow and follow up with you.
All right. Yeah, economic development, that's their thing though, right?
Yes, that's part of our committee.
All right.
So thank you for bringing up the topic. Yes, so thank you for bringing up the topic. I will definitely look more into it. And that can be a topic of discussion for
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you everyone for sharing your thoughts. Specifically, thank you to Khalid for assisting for this meeting. Thank you to the board members who are present. Thank you to the resident members who are present, and thank you to everyone joining. And I believe that adjourns our meeting. Once again, if anyone would like to contact me, I provided my email, so please reach out with any needs or any questions. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.